Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle for Expat Life Mexico. I live in San Miguel de Allende, which is in central Mexico, and I have the pleasure again of speaking to Suki, and she's located in Oaxaca. And today she's going to share with us her very interesting, very necessary course on buying and building in Mexico and some of the experiences that she has. It sounds super interactive, not just are you getting the lessons, but she's also going to take you on this journey with her later on this year. So she reached out and said, hey, I'm doing this course. And I know that the last time we spoke, you were kind of at the beginning, I believe, phases of doing a whole remodel. So she's very equipped to answer lots of really good questions about this process in Mexico. I also know what that feels like, but I think that this is a great way for people to decide whether or not they want to take that on, or do they want to remodel, or do they want to just rent, whatever the case might be. There's a lot of information to be had. So first, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you enjoy my content, or this is your first time here, welcome back. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on this video if this content was useful to you, and be sure to share. Yes, we do this freely of our time, and we just want to be able to keep bringing information about our lives in Mexico. So here we are. I'll let Suki go ahead and take over and introduce herself and start telling us a little bit about her course. My conversations are just that. They're usually conversations, so I never have a list of questions just exactly lined up. So we just talk. Yeah, so go for it.
Hey, so last time we talked, I was telling you about the dream.
Yeah.
And it was to, buy a property, renovate it, and to create La Soleil, which is the co-working, co-living space in Oaxaca, part of which I also live in. And the dream, I have to say, at one point felt like it might turn into a little bit of a nightmare. And I can actually tell you the exact day. So I was really good about, so first thing is, I recorded my process from the beginning, everything, looking for the houses, all my thoughts of the different houses, how I thought it was going to go. I recorded signing the contract for the house. I recorded my first day here, everything. And at the time, my intention was to record for myself. I wasn't thinking about a course at all. So I have to admit, the first videos were shaky because it was just me talking, going through. I was thinking maybe for my grandkids or something, right? And 6 months into the project, I finally found an architect, and I gave, we agreed on the money, we put everything down on paper, yada, yada, everything was fine, or so I thought. I go into his office, and he does what I'm sure you can appreciate. He talks to me for about an hour and a half about the project, and he's like, look at this part, it's so beautiful, right? And he's showing me renderings and where we started and what we actually ended. And at the end of the hour and a half, he tells me he needs double the original budget. So I had a moment where I was like, what Mexican friends do I know to call and find out what the bad words are in Spanish? Because I don't know them. But I surely felt like I needed them that particular moment, and I just didn't have them as part of my vocabulary, and then they would have been so important. But, I just turned to him and I said, no es el banco, I'm just not a bank.
Yeah.
And I turned to Evan and I said, you know what, I need to go home because I can't even talk right now about whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
And it was up until that point, I had actually let him kind of take care of the whole process. I would come and see it every day, but I wasn't really very involved. After that point, I said, absolutely not. I am not here to just be, I'm not a bank. I'm not here to be robbed.
Right.
And I'm going to take, control of the process, which is exactly what I did. And at that point, things then went well. I got my team, I got my people. Now we're like a well-oiled machine. Everything that I wanted to happen happened and continues to happen. So while this process, it was at that point that I realized that I probably spent, by the time it's all said and done, I'm going to have spent probably about 50,000 more than I should have. And the only reason I ended up spending that much more is because of all the information I didn't know.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I need to save other people
Mhm.
from this. It's actually fun now. And I get all my stuff, I get the deals, the quality, all of that. But the information I didn't know is what I actually paid that extra money for.
Right.
So that's how the course came about. So the first part of the course is, pre-recorded, and sometimes I will, I have myself in a little loom, and I kind of talk about, what I was thinking at the time. My favorite video I was watching back was when I walked through the door and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to be done in 4 months. And I was laughing at myself, 2 years later, right? And I'm like, look at me being all optimistic about time and everything. So it's actually been good to go back through the videos and the time.
Yeah.
And actually some of it too, like I would record, and obviously I didn't know what was going to come later.
Mhm.
And, you really learn a lot of things like about, electricity and even expectations, I think. But I'm going to talk to you about expectations in a second. I just want to finish on the course. So the first part of the course is kind of that whole process, buying, finding your place, all of that.
Mhm.
Even finding your place, we ended up being, I think, very lucky with our place because we completely went non-traditional. We
Mhm.
didn't allow realtors or anyone to funnel us into the 4 expat neighborhoods they want you to go into.
Mhm.
And I ended up spending probably about $100,000 less on my house.
Right.
I went the route of Mexican people, and I dealt directly with the owner,
Mhm.
and we made an incredible deal that to be honest with you, I was actually surprised he accepted. Evan made the offer. I was like, nobody's going for that. And
He
they
did.
did, and I was like, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
so
I
the
want
house itself,
I
oh yes,
want
go
to
ahead.
say I want to say something like just because I don't, not everyone is going to have seen the original video that we did. So I wanted to just kind of like share, first of all, where a little bit about where you're from, where you moved from, because I remember you were, I believe, in Colombia, and then you didn't
Yes.
really have an original plan to be in Oaxaca, if I got that right.
No.
And now
Yes.
you're there and you're like roots, basically growing roots into the ground, which I love. I love your whole concept. So kind of like explain that process a little bit. And then also for people to know, pre the course, the getting and like you said, the buying of the space in the home that you're, redoing or that you started to redo, understanding the difference, like you were saying, between being a foreigner running to a realtor. Nothing wrong with that either, because I have some
No,
really
that's fine.
amazing realtor friends, but you do tend to find better deals, but you also need to know how to negotiate and things like that. And then I think that running into the course, how that all works, that would be very helpful, because I want people to know like a little bit about your story, just in case they haven't seen the other video. So yeah.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, my family and I, so it's me, my husband, and 3 children. We've been traveling since 2010, and that was good. The nomadic, lifestyle was fine for a while, and it was a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
we had come to the conclusion before the pandemic happened that our final, and I shouldn't say final, but kind of our roots destination, our home base, was going to be Medellin, Colombia.
Mhm.
And at the time we moved to Greenville, South Carolina for just a short period so we could send my son off to college. And then COVID happened. And then Colombia shut its borders. And at the time I was in the middle of the residency process. I knew where I wanted to buy. I had my son tentatively enrolled in a trilingual school. I mean, everything was set. And then COVID totally derailed it. I had never considered Mexico. I know you hear this a lot, it was just not on the radar for me. But at the time, Mexico was open. So, I needed to get out of the States pretty immediately
Mhm.
because I had not spent that much time in the States in a while. And I could start to feel mentally myself changing back to probably my mentality before I left.
Mhm.
And that wasn't who I was anymore. So, Mexico was like, we're open, bienvenido. So we said, let's do it. I had
Right.
never heard of Oaxaca.
Mhm.
Just not a thing that anyone I knew anyone ever came to. And we actually went to Puerto Escondido first to kind of just
Okay.
hang and be one with ourselves. So Puerto, as you know, it's actually better now. They've got Starlink now, but at the
Okay.
time I was there, the internet, it just wasn't reliable at all. You couldn't work. When the internet went out, your phone went out. And then you knew the internet was out because you walked out on the street and everyone was walking around like not in a living dead, you know, like, what do we do? You know, no internet. So a couple of lost meetings later, a couple of aggravated clients, someone says you should go up to Oaxaca. So I start to try to look up Oaxaca. I'm like, WAK. I can't even find it.
Oh.
Finally, yeah, someone finally gives me enough information to get the plane ticket. And I hadn't even done a lot of research because I was like, well, it doesn't even matter. I'm just going to be there a month or two and we're going back to Colombia. So whatever, my residency is almost in, it's fine. And then we get to Oaxaca. It was a complete surprise to me. It was the best of Medellin, but better. You know, I'm a mountain person. It had the mountains. Culturally, I wasn't prepared for how much culture is here. And that completely spoke to me. You know, my Caribbean, my Haitian self.
Right.
And, you know, in Haiti, they call it voodoo. Here, it's just a temescal, you know? So
Exactly.
it was like, it was really beautiful to see that, you know, the Zapotecs, people still speaking the Zapotec language. It was really something to see people living their culture as part of their everyday life.
Right.
And about 3 weeks in, you know, I turned to Evan and I said, you know what, we're home. You know, and he was surprised because I'm the person who's like, you're always changing things, da da da. So he's looking at me like, really? You know, you're the kind of the steady. So then we knew we were going to buy because we've lived in enough places long enough to know like inflation is a thing. We have a property in the States. Just knew we needed a home base.
Right.
And that's actually for us though, buying was kind of to inflate proof. And I've lived in a house for so long and either I lived in my parents' house and they were the owners, or I lived in my own house and I was the owner. It's a little difficult when you have that ownership mentality to go someplace and then it's like, oh, something's wrong with the water. You have to call someone for the water heater. You know, this is Mexico, right? Then they have to call someone else who may or may not show up that day or the next day. Sense of urgency is simply not a thing. Like it's not easy. And like you said, your options are either to go to a place where you make it your own, which we considered, or to buy. So in our case, and then we had the vision for La Soleil and all of that. So we decided, one, to build a place where short-term, obviously, where people could come and stay and not deal with all the little things that I know you tend to deal with when you come to a place like Oaxaca, right? You'd be surprised that you have to, okay.
Tell us La Soleil so people know what you're talking about.
So La Soleil is a co-working, co-living space. So it's really for the business traveler, probably more so than anyone else.
Okay.
We've got all kinds of internet here, every room throughout the place, different internet providers. So we had always worked when we traveled and we were slow travelers. So we would do 3 to 6 months in the different countries.
Okay.
And from personal experience, I knew that the internet situation tends to be touch and go. And like I said, little things that you end up having to learn, but you're not even staying in the country long, you know, but the gas is a problem, the hot water, you know, it takes you 3 months to figure things out. And so we said we wanted to create a place. So we have 3 apartments for kind of the business traveler who can come work, not deal with any of all the little things. So we're very concierge, you know, service. I have a guest now. One of the first things that we did for all the guests is, you know, you send me your supermarket list and I'll buy it for you from the supermarket and have it in the refrigerator when you arrive. Perfect. You know, like if you're going to be here, you know, you should just enjoy, you know, it's not home. You shouldn't have to do the work. So we kind of, in my mind, I've coined like the term, don't even steal it. If someone steals it, you tell them where you heard it first. Business B&B. You know, so,
oh, I love it. I love it.
So that's what it is. It's like you're about your business, so you need to handle your business. And maybe you're working 9 to 5, 9 to 6. But once you're done, you can just go. You know, so we are a 5-minute cab ride from Zocalo, 15-minute walk. So you can walk if you feel, drive if you feel. I'm right corner in like city center. So I'm 15 minutes away from pretty much every attraction, even if you kind of want to go out of town.
Perfect.
So it was really geared toward that. I have kids. So
Mhm.
one of the rooms is a kid's playroom. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know, I've always kind of wondered why, like Oaxaca's very kid friendly, so that's actually normal to have a kid's playroom, but
Right.
it's the same kind of thing. You're working, you've got kids, you do the funny faces when you're on the call, but they want you to do something. So downstairs is the co-working space, so you
Right.
can work and actually take your calls and be looking at your kid in the playroom.
Oh, that's
And then
so
we have private offices.
love it, love it, love it. So
So that's La
uh,
Soleil.
I love it. I love it. I think it's amazing. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you came here and you just took the bull by the horns. And, you know, we'll get into the course and stuff like that. And I love the concepts behind it. And I think it's also really important that, you know, when people see these kinds of things through different lenses and ideas through different lenses, that they're more comfortable to show up, you know, and try it on. So in this case, I love all of it. Do you, I'm assuming you offer like kind of as long-term, you know, short and long-term, or do you have like, it's normally a 3 months or a week at a time or whatever people want? And also tell us the website where people can get on. And it'll be in the description, but go ahead and tell us like how they can get on and find out more information.
Well, okay, so about a couple of things. So we'll go back. So in terms of stay, it's a minimum of 3 days, maximum of 3 months.
Perfect.
And primarily, I do want to be a kind of a business center. So my vision
Mhm.
is really for the people who are trying to figure out, you know, is this for them? You know, kind of try out the life a
Mhm.
little bit without committing to a place and a contract.
Mhm.
So I'd like to ultimately be doing themed, you know, even 3, 4 weeks, you know, you've got a business plan and you're not sure how to get it to that next step. And so the other people that they're too, and everyone's kind of working together toward it. That's kind of my vision. So the website La Soleil is, I own it obviously, but it's still under construction because I can't have people pressing the button. So I have guests because the people who know me, I'm like the 18, if you can find me, I'll be there, right? So, and I've said, look, I'm still in the construction. They're like, no, no, please, I want to come and see. And so I've had guests, but
Okay.
it's really just,
Good
you
amount.
had to find me and yeah, and hunt me down. And I'm like, all right, you can get it.
Well, we'll put her
Um,
email address
yeah,
just
so
in
as
case.
soon as it's up, yeah, you can put my
Yeah, because
email
someone
and
might,
that's,
right, because someone
yes,
might be coming like next year and they're trying to pre-plan and
yes.
maybe that's a good, you know, pit stop. I find what happens here in San Miguel with the guest house is also word of mouth. I mean, I do have a website, but I'm not on any other platforms like Airbnb and Verbo and all those other places. I'm not there. But the point is that people feel connected to what you're doing. If they're interested in that place, they're going to feel safe to go there because it's someone that, you know, they already feel connected to what you're saying. And they feel like, okay, I kind of know her. I know what she's doing. And, you know, personality kind of comes through here on these channels and other options for us to share what we're doing. So it's always good to just have a contact for people to find you in case they're planning, you know, whether it's December or
Yes.
2023. Yeah, I love it. I
And
love,
I am booked, as crazy as it is, end of February, beginning of March.
yeah,
Because those are people who've been talking to me for a while, so they bought their tickets and everything. But
perfect.
I agree with you. I do think, especially if it's a first time visit,
Mhm.
and especially language. I think the less you know the language, the more important it is for just the little things for someone to share with you, okay, how am I going to get the taxi? And just the little things to make your stay a little bit more comfortable.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, I work with tour guides. I'm very like concierge, you know, so even laundry, I take care of that.
Yeah,
I house manager, you know, pick it up
yeah,
whenever you'd like, drop it off and pick it up. So it's a very good start for someone, especially if you have not done it before and you're not the I'm a solo explorer. Now, if you're a solo explorer, because I mind my business, you know, I'm here, but you know, I'm out. So you'll see me, but it's not one of those things where I'm like knee deep, but you just know I'm around. So, you know, one of the first things I give my number, house manager's number, we talk safety, we do kind of all of that. And if you're an explorer, this is perfect because, like I said, you can just walk the center and walk to kind of the different places and just kind of go explore on your own. And I'll be very clear with you. I'm like, all right, to the right, you walk half an hour, it's all good. But if you're going left, at the 10-minute mark, this is your
Stop there. Stop there.
Yeah, yeah. Even this morning, someone went to one of the markets and I said to her, okay, I know this market that you're going to. This is where you're going to have to channel your inner New York. Put your stuff in front of you, walk with purpose.
Yes.
None of this, I'm a tourist on my cell phone gig. That's not the market.
Don't get caught by what time is it, people?
Yeah. No, you don't know what time it is and it's just not your business. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
so I just really try to make sure that I help the stay be more comfortable.
Right.
And I do prefer word of mouth just because, when you spend this much time building and renovating and putting the effort into, even the sheets are handmade by like Oaxacan artists, so you can't just have anyone, in the space. Because now I'm looking at you weird, right? Because I know it took them 4 weeks to get it to me when they said 2 weeks.
Right.
And you thrown some Coke on the sheets, now I'm looking at you real weird, so it's important for the guests as well.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, sometimes you do have to, it's definitely a journey. I have to say that, it's a journey for all of us.
Yes.
To just branch out and have a business and have doing this, having guests and stuff. I did a lot of Airbnb when I was in the US. I had, a couple rental properties and mostly Airbnb. One was like a mainstay 12-month lease, and then the other were Airbnb. And it's just, you have to kind of cater and be aware of things, but also understanding like not everyone that comes in is going to be worried about your, expensive things or your really nice things. So it's a balancing act. But I think the overall idea and concept is amazing. There are so many people that are interested in Oaxaca and Mexico in general. Oaxaca is just an amazing traditional cultural area of Mexico. I mean, all of Mexico is, but I feel like Oaxaca just has a lot of the indigenous culture, like right on the surface, and you get to see it, you get to experience it, and just it's very different from even where I am in Guanajuato. It's just a very different vibe. No matter where you end up in Mexico, you're going to experience something new. So for anyone who is maybe ultra creative or, interested in this, or even just period, I want to be in a mountainous town with a lot of very apparent connections to what Mexico is about, I really think that that's a great place to be. And just in case you don't know, Oaxaca is spelled Oaxaca, right? And they also have a beach. There's a beach area, but Oaxaca City is in the mountains. And then if you drive 4 or 5 hours down to the coastline, which is on the Pacific side, Southwest Pacific, you can get to some of the places that you mentioned, which was Puerto Escondido. There's an airport there. The other major airport close 3 or 4 hours, I think 3 hours apart, is in Huatulco. That's also spelled with an H. So, just do a little research on like the map of Mexico. There's like a lot to see and learn. But all of those are coastal towns, very beautiful. If you're an outdoor person, I really believe that, or my opinion, is that Oaxaca has some of the most beautiful beaches than other areas in Mexico. Very blue, very preserved. They have some laws and rules where the 22 bays are not allowed to be overdeveloped. So it's still in its very natural form, lots of private beaches that you can only get to by boat. So it's definitely one of my favorite places to go and seriously be in the jungle and decompress, like completely. I'm fine with the scorpions and mosquitoes. Just be aware that not necessarily Oaxaca City, but along the coastline, it's very jungle-like, and I love it. I love it. I just absolutely love it. I feel like I'm in a whole nother world. So anyway, let's talk about your course and just like, kind of what the purpose is and the lives and things like the information you're planning to offer. I think it's amazing.
Well, it's a couple of things. Some of it is very, I'm about the numbers. And I'm about just knowing the reality of what it is you're getting into, right? So I would say that if you're thinking about potentially buying, even if you're not going to renovate, the renovation part is actually pretty important because when you're going to buy, you should really have a sense of what you're looking for, right? So this is my fourth renovation. The other three were in the States. And like we were talking about before you started, it's a very different system here. There isn't this uniformity of build like you'll find in certain places in the States. Permits don't mean the same thing. Even things like electrical work is just not, there's not a thing where, oh, it's got to be a certified electrician who did the work. That's not really what happened. It is really incumbent on the builder to be the person to say, okay, this is the quality. I know now that when you're laying down water sealing, the 7-year one anyway, you've got to lay it down first, let it dry, put a plastic on top of it, then lay it down the second time. And that's the proper way to lay down, they call it impermeabilizante. But, when you buy a new, even if you buy new, right? And you're like, I don't want to deal with all this, she's crazy. Even when you buy new, it's not to say that it's a negotiating tactic because it's not really, it's more of a understanding that even when you buy new, you're going to renovate.
Right.
That's probably one of the biggest things that I could say to anybody, that you think I won't have to deal with, well, where are the pipes running through? Do I actually have gutters? Gutters, for some reason here, seems to be some kind of genius concept, when you're like, hey, how about we put the water gutters here and take the water away from the house? And, you're a borderline genius. I was like, well, how about we grate the roof a little bit so we can direct the water toward the gutter?
Exactly.
And this is a downright amazing concept that, you just, oh, here's some knowledge. You're like, no, you just move the water.
Yeah.
So so I think with the course, there are going to be some people like me, we went straight HGTV, break down the walls, put in new windows, all of that. And then some of it is just, oh, okay, when I go look for a house, I'm going to ask these questions. When I'm renovating, because I'm like you, I think even when I've rented places a long time, I end up making it my own. And I've done tiles in other people's places. I've redone bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, I've just done it because you're going to be there for a while. So why not? But the information will actually save you quite a bit of money and time.
And headaches and stress.
And headaches, yeah. And one thing we talked about a little bit earlier before, we started recording was just about the culture and the business culture.
Yes.
The cultural part is such a big part of working here. And the bigger the project, the more you have to really understand the culture. One, so that you don't have a heart attack, right? You are not looking at people thinking, you're actually wasting my time right now. We've spent an hour talking about your family.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Exactly. Because you're working with them, they're around you, they're there, sometimes they bring their kids to work, put them to work, put them on the side. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But one of the things I want to emphasize is remodeling here, even though I think can be very affordable, or building, because this is kind of in line with the same thing, or buying something and gutting it and redoing and whatever it might be, that you just have to have a lot of patience, like a lot of patience, because the process just can be very difficult. I mean, unless you just have, money to throw away and you hire someone and you just like, whatever. But I can guarantee you that your house will not come and your space will not come the way you expect or what you envision if you're not a part of that process. as much as you can be. And it can take a long time. I mean, like I told you earlier, you know, I built a house in Oaxaca years ago. It took 3.5 years because of where it was, because it was kind of remote, getting materials there, you know, like I had all these design concepts and it was like, well, I can't get those. So what is available? And let's work with that. It just takes a while and it's just a lot of patience. And one of the things I wanted to say when you were mentioning the whole, you know, wiring for electricity, one time I remember getting frustrated because I also built in the US and that was even a struggle. I think the most positive experience was building in Connecticut. There was just, and I thought that was stressful until I started in Dallas and other places. But here, one of the comments that, you know, came up, and this was quite a few years ago, was we are used to things kind of making sense in a house. For example, you know, I'm going to have every couple of feet an outlet, right? I'm going to have a light bulb that's centered mostly, or, you know, when I turn on the double or triple light switch, the first one's going to be the main light, and then the other ones are going to be second. Things like this, they can drive you crazy because it feels common sense. But one of the excuses, or I'll say excuses, one of the explanations that I got, which made so much sense for me, was a lot of the people that are actually hands-on in building have never lived in a house that required all these things, okay? That's not a takeaway that, oh, they're less or anything than me. It's just they're following something that they're capable of creating, but because they're not necessarily living in a house that has outlets every 6 feet or something like that, they're not necessarily thinking about it. So it's not that they're intentionally just saying whatever, it's just kind of like they're going according to the skill sets. And even though things might be on a blueprint or some kind of architectural design, it's still a lot for you to just say, not a lot for you to say, you know what, I want to be a part of this process and I need to be there because I don't want to get angry over, you know, like things that seem common sense to me. You know, for example, I'm like, well, why would you just go halfway down the wall with that, you know, wiring? Maybe they ran out and they're just like, okay, this is good. You know, we got it in, there's an outlet here. But we're like, you know, we want it a little bit lower to the ground. So when I put my things in, whether it's a light or TV or whatever, I'm not looking at wires dangling in the middle of the wall. For someone who doesn't necessarily and haven't lived in a space that looks like what you're building, you have to understand the mindset, and it's very different. And that just chilled me out like 100%. I was like, that makes sense. Okay, be more a part of the process so that you get the end results that you like, and have, just like I said, a whole bucket load of patience with it, and know that in the end, it's all going to be okay. It's probably going to be gorgeous. But just be very, like, you know, conscious about the differences in
Yeah.
the culture and the spaces that maybe the builders live in versus what you're trying to create.
So this is 100% correct. One of the things I made sure to do is, like, there's light. The light switch is by your bed. Nothing has taken me more over the edge than you're laying in bed, and now you just want to go to sleep. But the light switch is all the way in the front, and you're looking at it, you know, and you're just like, I could almost just go to sleep with the light on because it's really annoying that I have to get up right now to
Yeah.
go all the way over there to turn on the light. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that happened here is, you know, Evan is taller and my son's even taller. My son's 6'3". When they first did the bathrooms, the showers were for shorter people.
Yeah, like right here.
So, and we caught that early.
Yeah.
And then from that time on, all of the doors, like, we took out all of the doors and we made everything higher. And basically I had my son walk through the house,
Right.
and in every room, if his head, we built some staircases,
Right.
and we had to do the test. Can
Yeah.
you walk through the staircase without
Upright.
bending your neck?
Right.
And that's it. And it was like weird for them. And so, but after we did that once, twice, then they understood, oh, okay, wait a minute, let's get your son over here and let's make sure we have the right height.
Right.
You know, so it's just like you said, it's cultural. It's the way they're not used to, like, I have USB ports all over the place.
Yeah.
But this is really a fairly new phenomenon,
Right.
having USB ports in your kitchen, all
Exactly.
of these plugs. We have laptops, da, 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 but that's not something, that's why I say if you're buying, even if you're buying new, you're
Mhm.
probably going to be involved in some renovation. I
Absolutely.
like to buy old. The reason for me is kind of practical. There was the earthquake here in '85.
Mhm.
So my house is 6 years older than that. So my thinking is, if the house has made it through the worst of all the earthquakes and everything,
Right.
we're in good shape. And
Yeah.
that's kind of why I like to buy older houses,
Yeah.
because I know that the foundation is very strong.
Right.
And I actually have not felt like I've seen that there have been seismic activities. I even heard the alarm one time. I didn't feel anything. So it was like an intellectual exercise. Oh, there's an earthquake happening right now. I hear the sounds, but in terms of actually feeling it, that just didn't happen.
That's
So yeah, it's important to feel good about the foundation. So there's a little bit of method to my madness with the older homes. I feel like they've proven themselves a little bit.
right.
And then so I cover in the course too, just choosing neighborhoods, taking your time, like you said, patience.
Mhm.
There's no rush.
Yes.
If a Mexican person is actually trying to rush you on something, so walk away, okay?
Yeah.
Because that is not the culture at all.
Yeah.
So
Red
don't
flag.
do it, walk away, because that's not the way that the business and things get done.
Right.
I would say to some of what people are looking for is a little bit of, what am I going to do in Mexico?
Mhm.
And arbitraging right now, Airbnb arbitrage is pretty big.
Mhm.
For me, in my ideal world, I'd like to, once we do this once for a couple of years and have proof of concept,
Yeah.
I'd like to help other people build La Soleils in different parts,
Yeah.
and just kind of being very systematic about, okay, this is how you do it. This is, your audience, kind of all of that. So like I said, for me, it's a very business minded, but sustainable
Right.
business. I am very conscious about what we do, what we offer, and that it's not something that I'm not competing with a
Right.
Mexican business.
Right.
It's Mexican. So even tour guides, everyone that I work with, everyone is Mexican, my house manager, all of that. You talked about your manager, and I have a house manager as well,
Mhm.
for two reasons. One, it's a pretty big space and there's a lot going on. But I
Right.
have to say that, you know, sometimes I buy him dinner and stuff. I mean, I pay, but because I'm just like, man, the time that you've saved me spending 3 hours on the phone talking to whoever, uh, bless you,
Yes.
because I would be, having a heart attack all the time. Like, why can't you just come? Like, why are you telling me 10 o'clock, but now it's 5, and I've been here all day. Now I just don't do any of that. The people will be like, oh, Senora Suki, nos vemos a las 10. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, Josmar. They said
Yeah.
they'll be here at 10. And I go about my day and my life.
Yeah.
I can't
You need that.
entertain kind
You can't be
of.
everything. Like when I, got Casa Elm, I was just like, oh, over here, I was trying to furnish it. I was trying to get everything fixed and done and whatever. And then when people started to come, it suddenly was just kind of like, oh my goodness, no, you need help. And you need people who are very efficient and understanding of the business side as well, not just, I mean, there's the fixing, because I have, a couple that they're just amazing. I literally call them my parents, like my parents. And they laugh because I'm pretty sure they're younger than me, and I'm just like, gracias. He's clapping. And they come to where I actually live, because I don't live at the guest house. In my case, I live separate. And that's because of the space. The space is for guests. And anyway, they're just amazing. I contact them and they're like, oh, da, 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 da. And they're just a great team. They work super well together. And then the manager for Casa Elm, she's actually from Atlanta. And I'm grateful for it because she's bilingual. So it's been really a blessing for me to be able to have someone who understands American US culture, but also is able to communicate here. And it was a good fit. And that's why I chose her. But as far as the other people who do, like you said, tours, for our relocation tours, I use all the locals for the city tours, the neighborhood tours, the real estate, immigration, all that. So you're still kind of pouring in to what's happening here, our drivers, the whole nine, it's just really one of those things that, I feel really good and strongly about people being able to work with me that really has a good, clear understanding of what's happening in this part. And I don't feel like you said, I need to figure out whatever. I'm just kind of like, they're excellent at what they do. Let them be the one that does it. I am just kind of like, I'm the connector. I connect the people and I'm like, here's, why San Miguel is amazing, because these are the folks that help and these are the reasons, and here are the people that have already come, and here's your community already, and people literally have said that. They're just like, I just feel like I already know folks. I already know who to call for help. I already am in touch with so-and-so. And I think that that's really a huge thing to be able to provide that comfortability for so many folks. And that's exactly what you've created, is this haven where people can come and figure out, do I want to be here, or even to just stay here and feel safe and feel like the services are here. Yeah, it's sort of like a mini hotel concierge, but it's more personable. Yeah.
Yes, much more personable, and definitely mini, because I do want to know and talk to the guests.
Right.
There's a lot of space. Like my guest now, she comes and she does Tai Chi on the roof.
Right.
There are, even when there's 3 apartments at best, like you're not going to be fighting with anyone over roof space,
Right.
and just having different spaces for the people. And I do agree about being very conscious
Mhm.
about our time here, our joining the community. I like to joke, my neighborhood is actually quite small. So I like to joke that we're the second largest employer. The other employers are it's like a government building, and
Love
they
it.
take up half the neighborhood, and I think they employ 2,000 people or something like that. And I'm like, we're the second largest, but half my block I employ in some way or another. I get my water from the water guy across the street. I get my fresh bread from the panderia down the way. I get my fruits from right around the corner. So everything, actually, I do a lot in my neighborhood. I mean, I get the fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, all of that in
Mhm.
my neighborhood. And that's actually the reason I chose it, because I'm a walker. And
Right.
I like to walk.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to have to get in my car all the time to get all the little things.
Right.
So I can go days without actually having to get into my car. I mean, I do it if I have to go someplace further, but
Mhm.
between the deliveries and me walking around, I don't have to do it.
I
So
love
it was, I'm definitely about consciously,
Mhm.
whatever we do here. And that's what the course is about, being conscious. If you're going to buy, if you're going to renovate, if you're going to make a space your own,
Mhm.
be conscious about it.
Right.
I would say that it was kind of, like I said, small things that I learned throughout the process
Mhm.
that I thought, oh, I wish I knew this and other people should know. Like
Right.
even Oaxaca, we're not, some places are much more developed, right? Puerto Vallarta is like way ahead of us in
Right.
terms of real estate development and all of that. Here, they just started allowing people to take out mortgages in the last couple of years.
Really?
Most of the
Mexican bank?
Well, actually, they're called fintech companies. So the
Mm.
bank will let you do it too, but fintech companies will let you buy a property and you don't even have to be a resident of Mexico.
Interesting.
So if you're a citizen of the United States,
Mhm.
they'll give you a mortgage,
Yeah.
for an existing property. But
That-
then you have to understand property in Oaxaca, because we're so native and indigenous.
Mhm.
Only about 20% of the property in Oaxaca is actually private property. The rest is either communal
Oh,
or indigenous,
okay.
right? And then about building on the beach, you have to do it through a trust.
Yep.
If you're certain, so you have to understand how the property is held,
Right.
and then make your decision on the buying. But buying here, it used to be, as I can't remember who said it, straight cash homie. It used to be that,
It's
but yeah, it
most
was
of
like a football
Mexico.
player. He was like, yes,
Just gonna say this, most of Mexico is still that, you know, and I think that's why a lot of, and funny enough, a lot of Mexicans own their own stuff because they
yes.
take their time. The traditional building process for Mexicans, people who own, is to buy their land and they build a little as they make their money, and it might take 5 years, 1 year, 10 years. That's just why you see when you come here, it's a lot of times places may feel very unfinished. And it's because that's just a kind of cultural way that they build is, you know, it's sort of like you see the little
Little
metal
things,
pieces
yes.
sticking out the
Yeah.
top. That's because they intend at one point in the future to build another level. And so and sometimes you'll see houses with just like fabric in the window, and there's no window there, actual glass yet, because eventually they're going to get the glass and put it in. So the point is we're not telling you to, you know, to build this way, but this is kind of how it works. And it's very unusual to be offered a mortgage in Mexico. Now, I mean, in this course, I'm sure you talk more about that. I'd be curious to know what kind of interest rates, because I know that some banks in the past and maybe still currently have offered mortgages, but the interest rates are really, really high. It's almost like a credit card high. So you just kind of
I mean,
need
I'm
to,
happy to share with you now. I mean, it's not
yeah.
a big secret. The lowest interest rate I found was 3%.
Oh, okay.
And the highest was around a 9.510
Okay.
off of 15 to 20-year terms.
Okay.
They do typically want you to put down between 20 and 30%.
Okay.
And but they will take your US credit. So if you don't have like Mexican credit, they'll do US credit and no prepayment penalties. Like most of the people I've talked to. And I actually, part of the course, I just created a list of who I spoke to, what their terms were, what they asked for in
Okay.
terms of paperwork.
Mhm.
So, you know, the information is just there if it's something that someone needs. Like for like my daughter, I am encouraging her, you know, probably next year or the year after to purchase a property. She would not have the, you know, the money saved to purchase. But
Right.
the reality is with a 3-4% interest rate, she'd be paying, she's like a little bougie. She probably won't see this, hopefully. So she's paying a lot for where she is because
Maybe
she's,
she
you know,
stopped
high-end
earlier
living.
in the
Yeah,
video.
yeah. Yes. So she's, you know, so she's paying I mean, she's paying less than what she paid in New York, which is why she feels like it's a deal. But
Mhm.
she could be paying that same amount in a mortgage and she owns it. You know, so that's the conversation I've been having with her. And
Okay.
it's if you're going to pay, you know, $1,200 a month to live in this place, your mortgage would be the same mortgage. You're
Yeah.
already fixing up the place and all of that.
Right.
You know, at that point, there's almost no reason for you not to own it, still
Right.
fix it up, and it could still just be your home base. You can still rent it out, what have you. You
All
know,
right.
so
Okay.
everyone shouldn't be, you know, just going out and getting mortgages, what have you, because you have to pay it back, right? So
Right.
financial responsibility is very, very important.
Right.
Um, but it has, like I said, become easier and the rates, you know, I think in the past it was something like 15, 20%,
Yeah,
5 years.
heard
I mean, things
15.
that,
Yeah,
yeah,
I heard 15 or 20%, or for example, when they were starting like a new development, you could do like the pre-sale, but you had to
resale,
pay
yeah.
the pre-sale, which was a better price, but you still had to pay that off within by the time the project was done, which could be like 2 years. So, and then they would require a larger down payment for that piece of property. And I mean, larger still compared to the US, you're still getting, you know, pretty decent deals depending on where it is. But I know that in like, for example, in Querétaro, there's so many like developments going up and you can get you know, 2, maybe 3-bedroom townhouses that are starting at around 75,000 US dollars. And maybe you put down, I don't know, 25 and you pay it off in 2 years if you know you're capable of doing that. Because obviously, if you're not, they're going to take your money and you're out your money and out the house. But
Actually, the rules have changed now since we were here chatting about this. It used to be that you were out of your house and you lost the deposit, but they've actually changed the rules in Mexico now.
Okay.
And you just need to ask your builder about that. You can actually get
Okay.
your money back now, a portion of it,
Good.
versus before. And this is so new. I want to tell you in the last couple of months, because so many people have been having that problem
Yeah.
with the builder. So in the contract,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually negotiate that particular piece.
Good.
And if you're working with a lawyer, which you should be,
Right.
he or she may or may not know that this is in fact the case. You should have them go look it up.
Right.
And ask for that to be a part of the contract. Not that you're going to walk away. You
Right.
understand that, you know, there was a promise made, so some money may have to be given, but you don't have to lose your entire investment.
That's good to know, because that was one of the reasons I was very hesitant when I first came here. I was like, you know, but living here, understanding that you do have rights, but sometimes it might not feel that way because of the language. But I think that this is great, because I do, you know, I feel like keep paying rent. Like you said, why not have some ownership? Sometimes people may have enough for that 20 or 30%, but they don't have 100%. But, you know, they're good citizens. And if there is a way for you to have credit checked in the US, and like, okay, you know, they had this before, they pay all their things on time, there's no outstanding crazy debt over there. And now, yes, you know, there are companies that are coming up that are actually going to benefit, because I do think that there are more, you know, positive scenarios than negative. And that's how those companies will make money from those situations. So that's excellent, excellent information to know. I know there's a company called Moxie that I kept seeing ads that popped up on Facebook. They're, I believe, out of the United States, and they're offering people mortgages in the US, but for houses in Mexico. So that's all I know. Don't ask me any other questions.
That's one of them. They're 70-30.
Yes.
And actually, some of them are, one thing you do have to ask, very important question, is what's the least amount you're willing to finance? Because I only found one company that was willing to finance 100, like as low as 100,000. But Moxie, for example, the number, they're 230,000.
Yeah, I think
so
I saw that.
Yeah, so the number is, and it goes up every year. And that's actually for me the why buy if you're going to buy. The rate of inflation in Mexico is actually higher than a lot of places. Like inflation will be 7, 10, 11%.
Yeah.
And, you know, almost irrespective, sometimes your rental contract will include an automatic increase, and it'll say tied to inflation. And that might not feel like a lot. And then it turns out that inflation this past year was 11%.
Yeah.
So your numbers just kind of keep going up. And after you live in the place for a while, and I know you know, you end up realizing, you know what, I'm not calling the landlord for this because it's going to be 3 weeks. I just don't have time. And you end up taking ownership of the house. Yeah. And so you're fixing the pipes and you're changing the things and you're doing all of the maintenance. Yeah. And they don't necessarily feel like they don't feel like this is wrong. You know, like we have this concept coming from the States that it's like, well, the landlord takes care of all maintenance. A lot of Mexican landlords feel like, but you're the one using it. Yeah, exactly. So, even though it's their house. And so I want to say, I want to comment on that a little bit. You know, because people sometimes come here and they're asking about renting property and things like that. They think sometimes that, you know, there's a building that's owned by a company and I'm going to rent this. No, most of the places are owned by individual people, and those individual people become your landlords. So you could have a great landlord, you can have a mediocre and a really poor landlord. So one of the things you want to really kind of like keep in mind is having your contract checked, making sure that you're aware of requests that if something does come up in your house, a structural issue, because that's very common here, even though the houses are built better, they're made better with, you know, sturdier materials, because of the way they might have been constructed a long time ago or an older place or even newer places. There can be leaks, electrical challenges. Like you said, there are no real codes that I think have been enforced as they are in the United States. So in saying all of that is making sure in the contract, it's clearly stated like who's responsible for it and how is it handled. You know, fortunately for me, I've had
you know, I had a great, previously where I was living before, I had a great landlord, and, you know, it's just one of those things where things were handled. I had a roof leak in the guest room, and this was earlier on when I first moved here, and it was literally raining in my guest room on top of the furniture that happened to be theirs. And I just took a video and I was like, hello, you know, and I sent it, and they sent someone right away. However, I know other people that lived in the same complex that I did, and it was an issue because their landlord thought, like, yeah, what you said, you live there, your problem. I just think that's crazy because it's not your house, and roof jobs and certain things can cost a lot, even in Mexico. So I think it's really important for people to understand that you have a good relationship, you get a good feel for who is the owner or the people that are managing it, who's going to fix stuff, that it's clearly stated in the contract in Spanish, because the English contract translated does not hold up in a court of law. And, you know, there's just a lot to know in this regard. And is one of the reasons why when I moved, I opted to move into a new development, because I was like, I don't want to deal with any stress and,
Yeah.
you know, older things. Yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of challenges at the guest house. I mean, not uncommon challenges, but just things, because it's an older home, but it has the charm and characteristics that I
You
love.
have some beautiful archways. I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, look at
Yeah, and the
that.
Boveda ceilings,
Yes.
the brick.
Oh man, it's
Oh, I love it.
beautiful.
The windows are all like, you know, that sturdy brown, really pretty wood, huge windows, huge French doors and all. I love it. I really do love
Yeah.
it. But every now and then something pops up and I'm just like, really? But you know, you live, you learn, and you just keep pushing through it. I'm just grateful for, like you said, having staff and people that are really just, you know, super there for you. Yeah, grateful, super grateful. Like I said, mis padres. I'm like, help.
Yes.
Yeah, so walk us through just really quickly the your course, like it's how long it is. I know you said it starts in the 24th of October. That's only a few weeks out.
Yes.
Like the first part is like a video recording. Just kind of walk us through like what the concepts are and why it benefits people.
Well, it's actually several video recordings. So just really systematic, looking for buying. I go through the neighborhoods, what to look for, the websites that Mexicans nationals use.
Mhm.
Just, you know, take from someone else the art of the deal, you know, negotiating your contract, kind of all of that.
Yeah.
And then choosing your space, renovating your space, working with the contractors. I have a whole thing on just business culture.
Mhm.
I'm working with architects, you know, really important. Some of the process that I followed. If you can't hear me, it's a plane coming over, so let me know if the plane
I can
is
hear you. It's okay.
okay. And then so we go through all of that, and I take you through the whole first part of my build, the things that went, you know, wrong, and how I fixed them. I definitely talk money. You know, I don't. There's no reason to have any surprises, so I'll tell you how much the things cost. At least here in Oaxaca, some of it's going to be comparable, some of it's not, depending on where you are. It's definitely a lot of note taking, I would say. Like before you buy the course, I would say buy a notebook.
Mhm.
And I'm very big on these are the questions you want to ask.
Mhm.
Pre-sale, you know, even pre-sale concerns me mildly because it's like, you know, you're taking someone's word, and like you said, culturally, it's not that anyone feels like they're lying to you, but you have several layers of people who say, oh, but this is good enough, or we can get it like this, you
Mhm.
know. So I'm I'm weary personally of resale for that particular reason.
Right.
And like you said, timing, you're just kind of up in the air on when it's actually going to be finished. And
Absolutely.
there are several times I've seen builders walk away and they're not finished. But
Exactly.
it's really a ask the question. At
Mhm.
the end of November, I still have 2 more floors to, I mean, well, like 1.5 floors. I have to build out the restaurant. That's going to be fun. And that's a whole other set, right? Because now I need different wiring. I actually need different kind of cables there for them that I needed for the house.
Yeah.
And then I'm have to do my third floor terrace, which is going to be like my Caribbean dream. So the
Yay.
house is very, like right now it's very, you can see behind me, very classic, almost, black and white
Yeah.
with a lot of greenery. So I'm all about, practically living in the jungle. And then I've got my herb plants. Every time I walk down the street and there's some like random person selling an herb, I'm like, oh, what is this? And then they tell me, and then I'm like, all right. And I buy it. And then I have more and more of these pots. So my herb garden is growing ridiculously large, but it's basically like a medicinal herb garden.
Love it.
Yeah, total side story. So, obviously I let the neighborhood know, like, my parents are from Haiti, so I have a Haitian background, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I've got all my plants and my herbs. I cannot tell you, people bring me babies and they're like, Miss Suki, this is the baby. Look at it. And I'm like, oh man, it's like Haitian in name. I don't want you to think like I can lay my hands on you, and cure anybody. But like some things, like I know, I'm like, oh yeah, you could use this herb for this, that herb for that. But
Yeah.
when people get sick, they actually do come to me.
I love it.
And sometimes I have a thing and I'm like, oh yeah, you can take this. And then sometimes I'm like, oh no, let me take you to the emergency room.
Right.
What you got going right now, this is not good. We need
Yeah.
to go. And I'm going to take you.
I love it.
So it's definitely sense of community, I would say, is good here. But
Yeah.
back to the course. So I'm going to take people live through the next part of the build.
Okay.
And right from the beginning, probably what I should have done to save myself all the money. So conceptually, how I'm going to go about the whole process. Designing, before I spend $1, everything is going to be designed out. I'm going to check all the materials. I know now about the rainy season versus not, so how I choose materials, all of that. And then starting in November, I'm going to do the 1 week, once a week, 1 hour lives for questions.
Okay.
So people are kind of going through their own process.
Okay.
And if I don't know, I ask. It's not, never, I'm afraid to ask any question. So
Okay.
if I don't know, I won't. And of course, we always talk the numbers in business. So I did actually a roundtable the other day with real estate agents here, because just like you, I have some actually good friends that are real estate agents, and they're great real estate agents. And I wanted to have them speak about what it means to be a realtor here versus the States, and it actually means something very different.
Right.
I'm going to do another one with an accountant. And then architect is kind of touch and go, but even, just a quick thing, even, I don't know how it is in other places, but in Oaxaca, we have architects and then we have very few master architects.
Okay.
If your home is more than 2 stories, you need a master architect. But the regular architect won't tell you that. He or she will hire the master architect to sign the papers. And then you're actually paying 2 people and you don't even know it.
Oh, wow.
Because you need a structural engineer by the time you get to the 3rd floor. So it's like little things like that.
Right.
Like I have 3 floors. I didn't know, so by the time I was working on permits and things like that, someone's asking me, well, who's the master architect? I don't know. Like, it's not, no clue who that is. Who's this random person who signed it? I've never met this person.
Yeah.
I eventually met them, but it's like it's questions you don't even know to ask. It's really a lot of them that you would never say to yourself, oh, should I ask that? So that's the course. I take you through that. Like I said in the beginning of the course, I recorded my intro and everything already. I'm not I'm not on YouTube. I can barely be found, so I'm more like the 18. You can find me, I'm there. There aren't going to be like 50 more courses in me or anything like that. So it's a really informational type of course, not like a highly produced movie or
It doesn't
things
matter.
like
It's
that.
informational and no one's looking for perfection. I mean, I used to, because in college, way back when, I did a videography class. So I was used to editing and I loved it. But fast forward to when I started doing my channel, I was spending so much time editing, like a little short, which would end up being like a 5 or 10 minute video, would take me 10 hours to edit. And I'm not exaggerating. And so what I learned from, our buddies here, Stephanie, Perry, and Rashida, they were just like, just get on and start talking. So I started realizing that people want information, and this is chock full of information. So I wouldn't even worry about that. I think that the content of what you're providing is so key and so important. You know, I learned a lot today. I mean, I know a lot, but I've just learned so much in regard to even getting mortgages, you know, master architects and things like that, because I'm actually thinking about adding a extra bathroom into one of the rooms at the guest house. But I'm concerned because the bathroom that's existing has the both of ceilings, and I don't want to disturb that. But I need to connect plumbing to whatever. So I'm just going to go straight to a master architect. I'm not even going to mess around with anyone else. So the point simply is the information that you're giving is so valuable. And I just think that you being able to share and do lives, that's all people care about. And, you know, if someone's interested in buying or in the future in buying, this is going to help them quite a bit. I think that that's really key. One thing I did want to ask you, does the course, Mexican Home Buying Course, that's the name of her course, does it also kind of help in regard to if someone just wants to buy land and build? I'm assuming yes.
Yes. Actually, there's one person she knew me beforehand, so I just consulted with her
Okay.
on. That's part of the reason I did the course too, because a few people were reaching out and they like one-on-one consultations. And time-wise, it just doesn't work. You know, I mean, okay, you pay me, but you're still only 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And, you know, La Soleil is an actual business. So the course just made it so that I can at least answer most of the questions. I can still do some consultation private, but at least you'll get all of the information, truthfully cheaper than it costs to pay me to talk to you for 17 hours.
Right.
That alone. But that's actually what she ended up doing. She ended up buying land. She had a ridiculously great deal. I mean, bless her. And some of it does have to do with kind of the who you are, because like you said, you might take the course and realize, oh, okay, this is way more than I ever thought. This is too much. Or you might say, okay, you know, because I've built before, you know, so this is not terribly new in terms of the concept of building.
Right.
But I think in Mexico, there is a way to approach it that you really have to kind of focus on. But I'm not a builder in the sense that this is what I'm going to be. Like, I build businesses, you know, necessarily the buildings. So for someone, you know, who's looking at this, you know, I don't want you to think to yourself, well, you know, she's doing this, so I can't. You can't. It's actually fun. I mean, when you get past the part where it's like, hey, this is 100 pesos versus 150, and you're actually calling me for the $2.50 difference, you know, and you're just like, we could have not talked about this, and I would have been just fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So once you train your people, it actually is a lot of fun. And I have to tell you, seeing your vision come to light, it's ridiculously satisfying. You know, like when I get up in the morning, you know, I'm big on light, so I have windows everywhere and all of that. I don't own a clock. I watch the sun and where it is on different parts of the house, and that's how I know what time it is.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, that's like so small. It's probably the smallest reason to love your house.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that I love. I love that I kept a lot of, like, even what you see behind me. This is actually from obviously the original structure of the house. And I bought the house from a family. All the kids were born here. So 8 children were born in this house. I met the mom, and the symbol was actually a symbol from their dad. And I had showed him kind of how the house was coming along, and he was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for keeping my dad's like original vision as part of it. You know, that's priceless. You know, you can't buy that. You know, that's just not something that comes to you. So just the ability to keep Mexico in the space, but definitely modern conveniences, because you need a plug by your bed. You know, I don't play that. No plugs by your bed. And sustainability. You know, I'm solar powered. Well, I'm not solar powered, but I'm solar water. And I'm installing a rainwater system. Stuff that I'd always wanted to do in the States. I've always wanted to be more sustainable. But when you call the people, they're like $25,000. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Mexico is probably like 1,500.
Yeah, no, it's like 1,000, 2,000, and it's the same system that they talk to you 25,000 in the States. And so here you can be sustainable. Yeah.
A lot of money on your gas, propane, and a lot on your water. Just Yeah, I know, I've been there.
Just,
So
it's just a totally different system. So you can, you know, it's a really interesting dream come true,
mhm.
because it kind of taps into all of my, you know, weirdness, you know, the business plus
You're not
sustainability.
weird. You're
No,
special.
so I'm not weird. I'm not
Bringing
weird here,
You're
which
bringing,
is
no,
so
that's the point.
interesting.
That's the
Yeah,
point. You know, it's okay. It's like you're bringing your purpose, and look at, you know, the space behind you. It's gorgeous, and people can come and be a part of that. And yeah, I think everyone that picks up and just moves to Mexico has some sort of quirky, eclectic thing about them, and that's okay. So yes,
I know. I became normal here. I didn't even know what happened. It's like confusing sometimes. And I talk to someone and they're just like, yeah, you know, and I pull the hairs off of cats and make tea. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not even the weirdest person in the room. When did that happen?
You're not at all. You're special in your own way. You have purpose, and there it is. You're dreaming your dream. And I think that that's key. That is so key. That is so key. I'm so proud of you. I just love it all. I was just sitting here thinking, like, maybe I can find a quick flight to Oaxaca because I haven't
Yeah, no,
decided.
you're invited. I'm
No.
having my, you know, my opening party. So before I do it is invite only. So it's really one of those, if you know me. But a month before I do it, I'm going to send the invite over,
Yeah.
and definitely have to come out because I'm going all big. If I can find a Caribbean steel band, I'm on the lookout. So if you happen to know
Girl,
someone,
girl, I
you
don't know
know
about
someone, let me
Caribbean
know.
steel. I don't know about a Caribbean steel band, but I'm actually going to speak to a DJ on Friday, this Friday, about doing a Caribbean party for me on Thanksgiving evening because my family's going to be here, and I was just like, I need to get some stuff up my system. I've wanted to hear reggae so badly because I just haven't heard it in a like kind of a dancing setting since
Yes.
I lived here. And I'm just like, mhm. My
Got a
brother's
whole playlist, like Afro beats, you know, I got everything going. So I'm ready, you know.
it.
So it's my speakers, I'm putting them up throughout the whole top
Love
floor.
it. Love
So yeah, I have to invite all my neighbors because I know they're gonna be like,
what's
what?
happening.
She's been quiet for 2 years, you
I
know,
know,
she's been
right?
great
Same
neighbor.
here. They like walk
Yeah, and then
by, it's like
suddenly,
the yard is all nicely pruned and everything's quiet. There's, you know, a little light on, then suddenly it's gonna be like, what? No more just dogs barking. Got dogs barking and music. So yeah. No,
oh
I
yes.
love, I love it. I love what you're doing. You know, I think it's amazing and it's just going to continue to grow. Oaxaca. If you guys haven't heard of Oaxaca, it's Oaxaca. It's really beautiful there. It has a city, it has beaches, you name it. Just look it up. There's so much for people to know and learn about Mexico as a country. You know, it's not just the beach in the Yucatan, it's not just Cancun, it's not just Tulum, nothing against those places, but I just want people to know that you can really immerse yourself and bring so much of you and your specialness to a new space if that's what you intend. And you know, it's growing. I love, you know, I love what Ayana and yourself and just that whole little group. Pilar is there now. She
Yes, yes, I met
started
Pilar
here.
on Saturday.
Yeah, she started here in San Miguel and she's over there for, you know, a while. And I'm just so excited to see all these amazing, you know, journeys and people just flourishing and thriving in Mexico and bringing their talents, you know, that's key. And also being mindful and respectful of what's already here. And I always say that walk with grace, walk lightly, and, you know, continue to receive what the Mexican people continue to give us, you know. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Everyone who's interested in her course, it's mexicohomebuyingcourse.com, correct?
Wait, yes, yes, but you know, I promised you that your viewers would get a special discount. So I'm going to send you a special link
Okay,
just for you that you can
perfect,
share with your viewers. And
perfect.
that'll be the, if you know Michelle, good for you, that, you know,
Love it.
you get a discount off the course. So you want to click on her link for it, and it'll just be less than my link.
Okay.
I mean, unless you feel like paying me more money for no reason. I mean, I don't know.
Well, take advantage of it.
Save the money and get a one-on-one with me. So yes.
Yes, no, take advantage of it. I think what you're doing is great. I think that this is very necessary. And, for people who want to be here long term, I know people who do. So I'll be sure to share it with them personally that are interested in buying land. I'm also interested in buying land. Where in Mexico? Who knows? Maybe Oaxaca. Yeah, I've done that before, but yeah, there's so much potential. And I think that, coming with what your dreams are, but also having someone like yourself to share experience through what you just did, not just talking to a realtor and saying, oh, well, checklist, but yeah, you're experiencing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and here's how you do it better. Here's what happened with me, and here's how you can do it better. And also understanding the culture, but not being so overwhelmed and frustrated by it that you just want to throw your hands in the air and some curse words to the wind.
Yes.
Yeah, understanding like, yeah, you're gonna end up with something amazing, but you really need to be present and you really need to understand the process. And I think this is great. I'm so grateful that you're offering this. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As long as I can, if I save one person, the 10, 15, 20,000, then I've done my part. And so, bless the experience is what I say.
And you will, you will. This is going to
I even do now, yeah. I mean, I'm actually happy to know what I know, because I'm not ending with this build, because I'm actually with you. I'm looking at land.
awesome.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I'm, you have a vision. Like once you can bring your vision to reality, it's like, oh, can I do my walking circle and my fountain, and can I be completely off grid? It starts to become a dreams that are, endless. Quick thing I'll leave you with. I remember, like, this was a dream that my husband and I had for a long time, kind of doing all of this and bring the business, and we finally did it and it was all done. And then I turned to him and I said, it's so wild to have kind of realized the dream now. I guess we have to dream bigger.
Right.
That's where we are right now, and that's fantastic.
It is.
Still be dreaming and dreaming big. I love it.
Exactly. And creating and leaving a legacy. That's the key. And without all these extra stresses that I think, like you said, when you went back to the US, you just started feeling like, okay, I'm not that person anymore. And when you're able to go somewhere else and kind of reinvent yourself and recreate, your life and create something new, or that dream or whatever, it just starts to feel like, oh, okay, now I can see this thing in my head in real life. And I just think that that's such a beautiful thing. And I have to just always emphasize that being here has been such an alteration of who I am. I mean, I've always been pretty entrepreneurial in my head and just trying different things in the US, but it just feels like you can kind of accomplish it easier here in different ways because there are a lot of needs. And if you bring your creativity and you bring your openness and you bring your drive, it just feels like it's so doable. Because I honestly feel that Mexican people as a whole are very entrepreneurial. They may not always have the business sense, but they're so good at creating, and their hands and their, the way they think about things. And even though we're a little bit more used to thinking about things from a business structural way and orderly and all that, they don't necessarily always come with that. But I think that that's where, you find the right folks and they're going to learn from you, you support them, and vice versa. And that's the beauty and that's the magic, in my opinion. It's like a pot of happy soup. And you throw all the stuff in, you're like, see how it goes. Can be a little crazy sometimes, but for the most part, I can honestly say that my outcomes here in Mexico, especially with having a space and the past building a home, it's just like they were phenomenal. I was just there in July and I was just like, man, I forgot how amazing this house is. I hadn't been there for a long time, and it's just yeah, you know, just everything about it was so grounding. So yeah, and hats off to you and also the course. I really think this is amazing and beautiful. Yeah.
And I have to come out your way when I finally am done. I can
Yeah.
start traveling around Mexico again. So
Yes.
San Miguel is on my list. Because I'm
Good.
a mountain town person, so I'm
Yes.
a Chiapas I've got to get to. So I have a few places to.
I want to go to Chiapas. I know I have mountain things I want to do. I want to go to Tolantongo in the next week or two, and that's like hot springs on the mountains. I'm all about it. I'm just like gonna pick up and be like, okay, Micah, no school today. We're just gonna road over there. It's like I think it's a 3 to 4 hour drive one way. And yeah, we're just gonna show up and we'll see how it goes.
The
Spontaneity.
Mexican way.
Exactly. Anyway, Suki, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you for putting this course together to continue to educate people who are interested in living in Mexico and all the different facets of Mexico. And also just when you know, you come with more understanding. And I think that this is phenomenal. So everyone that's interested in buying land, buying a space remodeling, buying a house, and maybe needing to do some work, this is it. Like, yeah, tap in, get that knowledge. If you haven't subscribed or by now, we're like an hour and something later, hit that button, support the channel. I see a lot of people who like and view, and I'm like, support, like hit the subscribe button, hit the like. So yeah, so we can continue to bring more of this goodness to you and our experiences here from our perspective, our lens, whatever it might be, and understanding that we love where we are and we're sharing this with those who might be interested. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Suki, so much again, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.